God. Oh, my God.
Didn't she drink some of your herbal tea?
Are you going to be drinking these?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 comedy A Family Affair. The film is written and directed by Warren Fisher and it stars Joe Wilkinson, Laura Aikman, Jane Asher. We have Rory Action Burnell and Colin Holt. Now, this is a traditional British horror that focuses on Joe Wilkinson's character, Edward, and his wife. Now, they run a retreat. It's like a silent retreat, where people go for serenity, peace, and relaxation, all that kind of stuff. They don't serve alcohol, any of that kind of stuff. However, they are not getting the best of reviews from people. And on this one particular fateful day, all the family are coming to visit, including the wives and the husband, Joe Wilkinson's. There is a number of people coming who Joe Wilkinson's hoping he can get to invest in the business, but also on the same day there's an auction going up for the house because the bank is about to foreclose. So on this one particular day, everything is going off. So it turns into a particularly British farcical affair. Right, what are my thoughts on A Family Affair? Well, as I've said, this is a very traditional British comedy. It's the sort of comedy that they don't really get made very much anymore, these sort of comedies in the UK anyway. They used to see them all the time. And it's very specific. It's like a situational comedy. Yes, there are some comparisons to classics like Fawlty Towers, but not too many in that sense. It's more a case of, what could go wrong does go wrong here. You know what I mean? You've got everybody turning up, as I've said, the families. You've got special herbal tea going around that essentially is making everyone high as a kite. You've got Joe Wilkinson's dad turning up wanting to spread the ashes of his wife who's recently passed, but he's brought a date with him. The wife's family has turned up. Helen, she's called, who hate Joe Wilkinson's character, and she gets stoned on this herbal tea. You've got this auction going off. There's a guy that has a heart attack. There's the woman coming along who is like a grave digger. She's looking for somebody rich she can get a hold of and basically sponge off. And this is all going off in what is a relatively short film. I mean, it's not what you would describe as a long film. So there's always something going on in this film. There's always something to keep your eyes interested. And the jokes are pretty thick and fast. Some of them hit, some of them miss. But I would say probably its success rate for laughs outweighs its success rate for, maybe a light smirk. There was definitely more than a few moments in this film where it raised a giggle from me, certainly. There was a real element of charm going on here. It's a beautiful location as well, it has to be said. And there were some quite memorable characters too. I thought it was delightfully filmed in that sense, with that traditional British sense of humour that's going off through it. So if you do like the British sense of humour, you like the British comedies, the classic comedies, you're definitely going to feel the DNA of many of them in this film. It's a real tip of the hat to many, many comedy classics, and a true British farce. There's fun things going off in this film that don't really make any sense. I mean, there's a guy in this whole film, and I would have been interested to see the casting process for this. There's a guy throughout this whole film with his arse hanging out, and he basically walks around this, retreat, arse out. He's got a shirt on most of the time, but not always, and he's literally got his peaches hanging out throughout the whole film. This guy must have been freezing through the process and maybe desperate for work. I don't know, but it was quite amusing. as I said, some of the jokes feel a bit tired. I mean, there was one in particular with like a leaky ceiling that grew tired pretty quickly, until Joe Wilkinson decided to fix it by using unconventional means. So it's got a slight rudeness to it as well. The film, you know, and there's a bit of language going on. There's a bit of sexual humour going on. Again, very much in the tradition of old classic British comedies. You know, a little bit of Carry On thrown in there, a little bit of Benny Hill, a little bit of Fawlty Towers. You know, all thrown into the pot and stirred up. And what has come out is this quite charming and fun comedy that everybody, I suspect, probably had a ball making. It was, you know, you got that sense from watching it that it was a fun process and it was a fun movie to make and not particularly arduous, I'm guessing. And it had the guy in it as well, Colin Holt from the Afterlife sitcom, who for me practically stole the show, and he was in that. He plays like the retreats guru, I suppose, the guy that's into the yoga and all that kind of stuff, although it's quite clear what he knows about yoga and any relaxation techniques he could probably write on the back of a postage stamp. But he's very funny and there's a real sense of charm about him as well. So yeah, there's it's one of those where if one thing doesn't kind of raise a smile or give you a smirk, there's something coming up very shortly that will probably or potentially give you a bit of a giggle and a laugh. Yes, it's quite highly predictable, but it's undeniably entertaining to watch, mainly because the pace of it, you know, this British farce, it just kind of churns through in regards to the pace of it, and you know, you don't really have chance to kind of dwell on something that didn't really work before and the next scene comes up that kind of grabs your attention. So yeah, there's lots of recognizable faces in here. I think Joe Wilkinson is, you know, a fine comedy actor. I've seen him in a few things now, and obviously many of you watching this will probably recognize him from, you know, the comedy panel shows in the UK, but he's done quite a bit of acting now, and, you know, he does really quite well in here, but for the most part, he's kind of playing the straight guy here. You know, he's not like, playing for laughs for the most part. It's kind of the situation that he's in and everything that's going off around him that generates the comedy. So, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this. If you like a good old-fashioned English, British, farcical comedy, and then, you know, you could do far worse than this one. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.